I'm too lazy to make a long intro, so let's just start. The commander's seat is inside of a rotating cupola which sits on top of the turret. The cupola is like a small heavily armored dome on top of the tank which gives the commander a clear view, optimally in all directions, while keeping him safely inside the tank. Being safe is relative for him as long as he doesn't get blown up by an ATGM. Anyways, the cupola is firmly attached to the turret and is also lined with materials to protect against radiation, which is part of the T-72's NBC protection system. The cupola also has a thick hatch that opens forward so the commander can more or less safely look out without being completely exposed to enemy fire, at least from the front, but he can still get shot from the sides or the rear. The T-72 cupola stands out from older Soviet designs like the T-54 or T-55 because it's better protected and more thoughtfully designed. A good example of this is how the anti-aircraft machine gun is mounted separately from the cupola. On the T-54 and T-55, the MG is mounted on the cupola, so if the commander wants to look around, he has to use his own full strength to turn the cupola, therefore the extra weight of the MG doesn't make it easier for him. On the T-72, however, the MG is mounted next to the cupola. This means the commander doesn't have to handle the heavy weight of the NSVT machine gun when turning the cupola by hand. This means the cupola is easier to operate and less tiring to use, especially when the tank is driving over bumpy ground or on slopes, although it's probably still heavier than the launch you've had today. Didn't you say want to lose weight? Anyways, the cupola is manually rotated but also comes with a counter-rotating system. If the turret moves, the cupola can stay fixed in one position, which allows the commander to focus on the target. This design makes it easier for the commander to keep track of targets while the turret is moving, which gives the T-72 an early step towards what would later be called the hunter-killer capability. The hatch, which weighs 125 kilograms, is equipped with a spring system to help the commander open and close it without having to warm up for like 15 minutes as if he was to deadlift something. In the earlier T-72 models, the commander couldn't directly control the main gun. His job was to find targets, point them out to the gunner using his TKN-3M sights and give instructions to adjust the aim if needed. You could compare this to a co-pilot in a plane, who helps to guide and manage things but isn't actually controlling. The commander did have a way to line up the turret with a target by pressing a button on the periscope. This button would make the turret turn to match the cupola's position, which would allow the gunner to quickly aim and fire at the target. In modern T-72 versions like the T-72B3, the commander got a big upgrade. He got full control over the main gun. Instead of just guiding the gunner, the commander can now take over completely. With a flat-screen display linked to the Cessna U-thermal sight, the commander can see targets clearly, even in the dark. Using a thumbstick and trigger on the control unit, he can move the turret, adjust the gun's aim, and fire both the main gun and the coaxial machine gun. This gives the commander a lot more flexibility and brings T-72 closer to the capabilities that Western tanks have had since the 1980s. The commander uses a TKN-3M periscope as his main optic, which works both during the day and at night. It's like a pair of binoculars built into the tank which lets the commander spot targets and check the terrain. It has 5x zoom for daytime use and 4.2x zoom at night. Around the TKN-3M there are extra periscopes, 2 TNPO-160s on the sides and 2 TNPA-65As built into the hatch. Together, they give the commander an almost full 360-degree view of the surroundings. However, there is one blind spot directly behind the tank. If the anti-aircraft machine gun is locked in its rear position, the cupola can only turn 320 degrees, which leaves a 40-degree area where it can't rotate. You can think of the periscopes like the mirrors on a car. They give the commander a view of the surroundings but aren't great for seeing details over long distances. For spotting things that are far away, the commander relies on the TKN-3M's magnified optics. The TKN-3M also has basic night vision and uses first-generation image intensifiers to brighten up the available light. While it works, it's pretty outdated compared to modern thermal imaging. Its maximum range in low light is only about 500 meters, which isn't much by today's standards. But obviously, we're talking about the T-72 from the time it was released and not today's modern versions. The TKN-3M is connected to an infrared IR spotlight which helps with active night vision. This spotlight makes it easier to see in the dark, but there's a problem. It also gives away the tank's position to enemies who have similar night vision equipment. This was a big disadvantage, which is why newer technology switched to passive thermal imaging that doesn't reveal the tank's location. The periscopes are strong and designed to be simple. For example, the TNPO-160s provide a wide view and can even withstand hits from machine gun fire. If one gets damaged, it can be quickly replaced. The TKN-3M's night vision system has two modes, passive and active. In passive mode, it works by boosting the small amount of light that's already there, like moonlight or starlight for example, to create an image. This is good for staying hidden because the tank doesn't give off any extra light. The downside is that the range is quite limited. In active mode, the system uses the OU3 infrared spotlight to light up the battlefield. This extends the range to up to 400 meters, but it has a big drawback. Using the spotlight exposes the tank's position. This system was arguably acceptable for its time, but far from ideal by modern standards, so relying on an IR spotlight is a double-edged sword. Communication is one of the commander's most important jobs. Early T-72 tanks came with the R123M radio, which could communicate up to 20 kilometers away. Later, it was replaced by the R173 digital radio and then the more advanced R168 system. The R168 brought big improvements like encryption to keep messages secure, frequency hopping to avoid being jammed, and networking capabilities to connect with other units. These upgrades made communication safer and more reliable, especially in situations where the enemy might try to interfere with signals. The commander also uses an intercom system to communicate easily with the driver and gunner inside the tank. This system can also be connected to an external tank or helmet, which allows infantry riding on the tank to stay in contact with the crew.
Anyways, that was all I had to say for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you think I said anything that is not right or you think I should have added any additional information to this video, please let me know in the comments and share your knowledge. Besides that, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.